For the past several years, many leaders have been calling for improvements in the state's schools and transportation systems, and that demand has been amplified more recently by the disparities highlighted during the pandemic. That also sets the stage for a new push to get the Fair Share Amendment on the ballot as a referendum next year. To tell us about the amendment and the campaign is one of its supporters, a Boston Public Schools parent and organizer with the Boston Education Justice Alliance, Suleika Soto. Thank you very much for being with us, Suleika.
Thank you very much.
Suleika, I know there has been news lately about the state having more revenue than it expected, but you're a Boston Public Schools parent. You see things up close there. What about the needs in the schools?
Yeah, so I think that for years we've seen a lot of the needs that have not been met by school districts because of years of underfunding. I think that a lot of our school districts, especially those that serve mostly communities of color, have a high need for social emotional support. They need more nurses, they need more guidance counselors, they need a well-rounded curriculum that includes classes like science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM classes. They need more sports. They need access to a well-rounded, high-quality education overall that unfortunately not all students in our different districts and then within Massachusetts have.
What about the big picture? Because there was a state report just before the pandemic that found a lot of problems in the Boston schools. And certainly when I looked at that report, I was wondering, what about the state funding? How important is that to getting the schools right?
So state funding, I would say, is very, very important. We, there are a lot of disparities in how that funding is giving to the different districts. I know that in Boston public schools, we don't always get the complete funding for one reason or another. It's important because it helps ensure that students are receiving the quality education that they need. I mean, the state has a lot of guidelines, and unfortunately, there are a lot of schools that are underperforming. And in order to improve that, we need state funding overall. And I think that the Fair Share Amendment will help give more of that funding. It will also help to fund the Student Opportunity Act, which was designed to address a lot of the disparities that already exist. So state funding is essential, and it's we need it. We need a fully funded budget, state budget, city budgets, just to ensure that all those students have access to that quality of education.
By the way, this is not grades preschool through grade 12 here. We're talking about community colleges, public colleges, and universities, aren't we?
We are talking about public colleges, public universities that have also been underfunded by the state. Unfortunately, a lot of schools during the pandemic and even prior to that, because of the underfunding, have been forced to cut a lot of classes. They've been forced to cut a lot of staff that ensure that students provide that students are getting that high quality college education and that it is also affordable for them. So, although there's been cuts, the prices of these classes continue to be the same or are sometimes even raised. So students are still forced to take on that debt. So I think that, again, the state funding is super important just to ensuring that we have the necessary staff and the resources to provide that quality education and just ensuring that it's also affordable.
The other item that this amendment is supposed to address is the need for improvements in transportation. Some of it is to make transportation affordable, but some of this is to relieve congestion that can choke off job growth. Why is that so important?
I think it is very important for working families to be able to have reliable transportation to get to and from work. we continue to be affected by the lack of reliable public transportation, by the prices. Um, I know that during the winter, it is very difficult for anybody to get, during blizzards or things that we know that are common that happen in New England. We are forced to deal with an unreliable transportation system. Um, and then also ensuring that, the roads, now that the pandemic is over, we could see how the roads have become more congested. There are um, traffic at all different times. And we need to ensure that there's more, buses that are running more frequently for working families to get into work. And not only for working families, but also for students, like my daughter, who, was forced to take public transportation during transportation cuts during the pandemic. So, just working families and students, just ensuring that they're able to be able to get to work to ensure they can take care of their families.
Well, I think
It,
another thing that might be a concern, and we've seen this in other states, that they have increased taxes on wealthier people. And sometimes those people either move out or they find a way to avoid taxes legally. Could that happen here?
it would be, adjusted. I think it would be up to the state legislator to determine how those funds are going to be, um, how that's going to be implemented to ensure that we are taxing people in the correct way. I think it would be adjusted according to inflation and the cost of living. So I think that every 3 years, it would have to be like a review, and they would have to, continue to look at how this is working, just to ensure that it's working for everyone.
And what we're talking about here is an additional, was it 4% on income, annual income above $1 million?
Yes, so it's 4% on any income above $1 million. It would be used again to improve the quality of education, transportation, the roads, just to ensure that the gaps are kind of being addressed. And yeah, so just ensuring that everyone has access to that high quality living that they want, especially in a place like Massachusetts.
So if this passes, how would you see this making a difference right in your own family? Someone who might be in the Boston Public Schools right now, who might want to go to college later on, what would that mean?
I think it would mean a lot. I think it would mean that I would, as a parent, I would have a little bit more, I'll be a little bit more calm, and I think a little bit less anxious about my child having the opportunity to attend college. My youngest does have an IEP. She's a special needs student, and just within my family, just ensuring that she's getting all the supports that she needs when it comes to social emotional, ensuring that she has enough teachers that can teach the curriculum that she needs in order to be able to access college and to pass the SATs, and to um, prove that, just to be able to have that opportunity to have access to it. I'm a low income parent. I do not make a lot of money. I do not have a college fund. Um, so just ensuring that my child has access to an education that will ensure that she can succeed in whatever she wants to do, well-rounded education. I think that would mean the world to me. I right now have college debt. I wouldn't want my children to be going through that right now. I can't afford to pay it. My credit, has not been able to improve because of it. And I think that it continues to um, keep a family like myself down if we don't have this kind of access to high quality education, and to be able to access college.
And one thing about going to college, we're not just talking about people who are 18 years old, just out of high school. We're talking about people who are adults raising children of their own. They need to upgrade their skills. So there are a lot of, this is a whole different thing here. These people need a different kind of help. Is that another reason why this is important?
I think that is also a very good reason, and I mean another reason why this is important. I think that a lot of families that rely on public support or support from the state, um, for them to be able to access this kind of stuff would also put them in a bracket or in a place where um, they can actually sustain a family, and they can live a better quality of life overall. I think it'll be a quality of life well-rounded for everyone, from the adults, from the new immigrants that are coming in that don't know English, having access to that um, support, technology, having access to be able to learn about technology. I know that during the pandemic, that was a lot of what parents were struggling with. Being able to help their students navigate the internet and Zoom. Um, especially the caretakers that were a little older. So just ensuring that there's all around services for the entire family would be very, very critical.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you.
Speaking in support of the Fair Share Amendment, Suleika Soto from the Boston Education Justice Alliance. We'll have more news in just a moment.